Horacio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Realonda. That's a long name, right? Who is he? Do we really know everything about him? Let's find out!
Jose Horacio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Realonda was born in Calamba, Philippines, Laguna Province. He was baptized at the Catholic of Calamba by the parish priest Reverend Rufino Colliantes with Reverend Pedro Casañas. Jose Rizal was the seventh of the 11 children who had 9 sisters and 1 brother. Both his parents, Francisco Mercado Rizal and Teodora Alonso Realonda, were educated and belonged to distinguished families. They were leaseholders of a hacienda and an accompanying rice farm by the Dominicans. From an early age, Jose Rizal showed a precocious intellect. As a child, Rizal spent a lot of time in nature making careful observations that sparked his creativity. The first teacher of Rizal was his mother, who was a remarkable woman of good character and fine culture. On her lap, he learned the alphabet and prayers at the age 3, and could read and write poetry at age 5. She taught him values which he carried on until later in his life. When he was 4 years old, his sister Concepcion, the 8th child in the Rizal family, died at the age of 3. It was on this occasion that Rizal remembered having shed real tears for the first time. Later, his parents sought and paid for private tutors to teach the young Rizal Spanish and Latin. Rizal had his first early education studied under Justiniano Aquino Cruz in Biñan before he was sent to Manila. As to his father's request, he took the entrance examination in Colegio de San Juan de Letran, but the Dominican friars asked him to transfer to another school due to his radical and bold questions. When he was 11 years old, he enrolled at the Ateneo Municipal de Manila. He earned excellent marks in subjects like philosophy, physics, chemistry, and natural history, and graduated as one of the 9 students in his class declared sobresaliente or outstanding.
He enrolled in a course in medicine at the Universidad Central de Madrid in Spain. In June 1883, he traveled to France to observe how medicine was being practiced there. After his 3-month sojourn in France, Rizal returned to Madrid and thought about publishing a book that exposed the colonial relationship of Spain and the Philippines. This idea was realized in March 1887 with the publication of the novel Nolimitangere in Germany. Rizal was actively involved in the propaganda movement composed of Filipinos in Spain who sought to direct the attention of Spaniards to the concerns of the Spanish colony in the Philippines.
Rizal returned in Manila in August 1887, after 5 years in Europe. However, his homecoming was met with a fire furor over Noli Me Tangere. The Archbishop of Manila issued an order banning the possession and the reading of the novel, an order that was later reinforced with a Governor-General.
6 months later, pressured by the Spanish authorities as well as by his family and friends to leave the country and avoid further persecution, Rizal left Manila for Hong Kong. From 1888 to 1890, he shuttled between London and Paris, where he wrote ethnographic and history-related studies, as well as political articles. He also frequently visited Spain, where he met with fellow Filipinos intellectuals like Marcelo H. Del Pilar, Mariano Ponce, and Graciano Lopez.
In August, he was admitted to the British Museum where he copied Antonio Morga's massive study of the Philippines, Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, which later annotated for publication as a gift to the Filipinos.
The first of two canonical 19th century novels, Kalimitang Here, came from the Latin word Pagsulat. It is an 1887 novel by Jose Rizal during the colonization of the Philippines by Spain to describe and perceive iniquities of the Spanish Catholic friars and their ruling government. Kalimitang Here revolves around Crisostomo Ibarra, who after a 7-year stay in Europe to study, comes home to his town of San Diego, brimming with the desire to contribute to the development of the townspeople. More specifically, as a reformist, he aims to make education accessible to more people. His idealism, however, cannot bear fruit because of insidious forces bent on destroying him. Ibarra learns that his father, Don Rafael, had been embroiled in a conflict with Padre Damaso, who eventually causes his humiliation and death. It is not only political power that the friars wields. He has also underpower to seduce the mother of Maria Clara, Ibarra's sweetheart. Ibarra has another enemy in the person of Padre Salvi, who lasts after Maria Clara. It is also Padre Salvi who almost causes Ibarra's death at the groundbreaking ceremonies for the school. Things come to a head when Ibarra is implicated in a failed uprising instigated by Padre Salvi. The young man is imprisoned but is eventually rescued by Elias, whose life Ibarra has saved in the past. As the novel ends, the thoroughly disillusioned Ibarra sees a bleak future.
El Filibusterismo, the Subversive, is the second novel by Jose Rizal, 1861 to 1896, National Heroes of the Philippines. Like its predecessor, the better-known Kalimitang Here, the Fili was written in Castilian while Rizal was traveling and studying in Europe. It was published in Gent in 1891 and later translated into English, German, French, Japanese, Tagalog, Ilonggo, and other languages. A nationalist novel by an author who has been called the first Filipino, its nature as a social document of the late 19th century is often emphasized. For many years, copies of the Fili were smuggled into the Philippines after it was condemned as subversive by the Spanish authorities.
Historical retraction. The following primary sources are two kinds. First, the first two are the official accounts as witnessed by the Jesuits who were instrumental in the alleged retraction. The other two are critical analysis by two Rizalist scholars who doubted the story of retraction. The statement of Father Vicente Balaguer, he was one of the Jesuit priests visited Rizal during his last hour in Fort Santiago. He claimed that he managed to persuade Rizal to denounce Masonry and return to the Catholic fold. In affidavit executed in 1970, he also claimed that he was one who solemnized the marriage of Josefine and Jose Rizal. A statement of Father Pio. He was the Jesuit superior in the Philippines during the time when Rizal was executed. In 1970, He issued an affidavit recounting his involvement in the alleged retraction. He was involved only in securing the retraction document from the Archbishop of Manila, Bernardo Zaleda. To write another shorter retraction document as well, which has the one result allegedly copied. A critical analysis of Rafael Palma, a writer including the written work entitled Biografia de Rizal, which won a literary contest in 1938.
I love you, mahal kita, Ashtamas, Jataime. Imagine how lovable Rizal is that he actually went overseas to find love. But the interesting part is, it is not just 1 or 2 nor 3. Given his charms and appeal, Jose Rizal is considered our hero heartthrob with 9 girlfriends in total.
Segunda Katigbak, year 1877. Rizal's age 17 years old.
Leonor Valenzuela, year 1878. Leonor, also known by her nickname Orang, he was 40 years old.
Leonor Rivera, year 1878 to 1890. Rizal's age 17 to 29 years old.
The girl is 18 years old. Consuelo Ortiga y Rey, year 1884.
Seiko Usuyi, year 1888. Rizal's age 27 years old.
Gertrude Beckett, year 1888.
Suzanne Jacobi, year 1890. Rizal's age 28 years old.
Nellie Boosted, year 1891.
Pepe had a child with Bracken, but the child died at birth. Rizal named his son Francisco.
Jealous? Don't be. Jose Rizal actually showed that we can catch hearts with wit, knowledge, and charisma.
Ang bayan ko'y
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good morning to each and everyone, especially to Mambay Janina S. Sinswat. By the way, this is Shalimar A. Magalimbang and my partner,
Josh Maran L. Mondi.
and today we will going to discuss about Martyrdom and Bagumbayan, which is the chapter 223. Would I give it fee nor count the cost? This is letter by Jose Rizal. Martyrdom and Bagumbayan. Farewell, dear fatherland, clime of the sun cursed, pearl of the Orient seas, our Eden lost. Gladly now I go to give thee this faded life's best, and were it brighter, fresher, or more blessed, still would I give it thee nor count the cost. This is letter by Jose Rizal.
After the court-martial, Rizal knew he was doomed to die. The official notice of his execution was read to him at 6 a.m. December 29, 1896, by Captain Rafael Dominguez. On the eve of his death, he was busy writing farewell letters to his family and best friends, Blumentritt, conversing with the Jesuit priests, preparing his soul for the life beyond the grave, and writing his farewell poem. He also abjured Mansory and returned to the fold of Catholicism, and married Josephine Bracken under Catholic rites. With courage and dignity, he marched to his rendezvous with death at Bagumbayan. At 7:30 a.m., December 30, 1896, he passed away at the age of 35. He died to live forever as the national hero of the Philippines. So it is said here that Rizal was aware that he is going to die after the court-martial. So that day, he wrote different letters for his family and best friends, talking with Jesuit priests and writing his farewell poem. He returned to the fold of Catholicism and married Josephine Bracken under Catholic rites. In his death in Bagumbayan, he marched with courage and dignity. He passed away December 30, 1896, and he is only 35 years old, and stayed forever as the national hero of the Philippines.
Last hours of Rizal at 7 a.m., December 29, an hour after hearing his death sentence, Rizal was moved to the prison chapel, where he spent his last hours on earth. He requested that his old professors in the Ateneo assist him in his last moments. His first visitors were Mr. Miguel Sadera Mata, rector of the Ateneo Municipal, and Father Luis Biza. So, 7 a.m. before his death on December 29, Rizal was sent to the prison channel after his death sentence. He spent his last hours there and requested that he want his professor in Ateneo to assist him at their last moment. And the first person who visited him was the rector of the Ateneo Municipal, which is Mr. Miguel Sadera Mata, with Father Luis Biza.
At 7:15 a.m., Father Sadera left Rizal in jovial mood, reminded Father Biza of the image of Sacred Heart of Jesus, which he made during his Ateneo days. Father Biza, anticipating such reminiscence, got the image from his pocket and gave it to Rizal. The hero lovingly received it and placed it on the writing table. At 8 a.m., Father Antonio Rosel arrived to relieve Father Biza. Rizal invited him to partake of his breakfast, which he did. After breakfast, Lieutenant Javier de Andrade came and Rizal thanked him for his gallant service. Sadara left 7:15 a.m., so Rizal remembered the pictures of the Scarlet Heart of Jesus in his Ateneo days. Father Biza remembered it and got the picture from his pocket and gave it to Rizal. Father Antonio Rosel arrived at 8 a.m. to relieve Father Biza. So he was invited by Rizal to join his breakfast and he did it. Lieutenant Javier de Andrade came after the breakfast, and for his good services, he received thanks from Rizal.
At 9 a.m., Father Federico Fara arrived. Rizal reminded him of the prophecy that he, Rizal, would lose his head for the writing the Noli. You turned out to be a prophet, Father, remarked by Rizal. After Father Federico Fara arrived, at 9 a.m., Rizal remembered the prophecy said by Father Federico to him that Rizal will lose his head for writing the Noli. So, Rizal said to Father Federico that Father Federico turned out to be a prophet because of saying that prophecy.
At 10 a.m., Father Jose Clara, Rizal's teacher in the Ateneo, and Vicente Villaguer visit Rizal. Another visitor also arrived. He was Santiago Mataix, correspondent of El Heraldo de Madrid. At 12 noon, Fathers Villaclara and Balaguer left. Rizal was alone with his guards. He took his lunch, after which he was busy writing until 3:30 p.m. During the time from noon to 3:30 p.m., when he was not strictly watched by the guards, Rizal wrote his last poem, Ultimo Adios. At 10 a.m., Rizal's teacher, Father Jose Villaclara and Vicente Balaguer, they visited Rizal. Other than that, correspondent of El Heraldo de Madrid also visited Rizal. And at 12 noon, Father Villaclara and Balaguer left Rizal alone with his guard, so he took his lunch and busy writing again until 3:30 p.m. So, Rizal wrote his last poem while the guards are not watching him. His last poem is Ultimo Adios.
At 3:30 p.m., Father Balaguer returned and resumed discussion with Rizal on religious matters. The latter was adamant and refused to abjure Mansory. At 4:30 p.m., Rizal's mother arrived. Rizal knelt before her and kissed her hands, begging her to forgive him. Both mother and son were crying as the guard separated them. After the mother, Trinidad entered and Rizal gave her alcohol cooking stove as a gift of Paspardo de Tavera to Rizal. Trinidad received it. He said that there is something on it, and that turned out to be a piece of paper where the Ultimo Adios was written. So she left, and Father Villaclara and Estanislao March had arrived with Father Rosel.
At 6 p.m., Rizal received Don Silvino Lopez Tunion, the Dean of Manila Cathedral. Father Balaguer and March left, leaving Father Villaclara with Rizal. So, Rizal received Don Silvino Lopez Tunion, the Dean of the Manila Cathedral, at 6 p.m. And Father Balaguer and March left Father Villaclara with Rizal.
At 8 p.m., Father Balaguer came with Father Visa. They conversed with Rizal on religious matters. Another visitor of Rizal was Fiscal Gaspar Castaño of the Royal Audiencia. The two had a nice conversation, with the prisoner playing the role of a gracious host. So, at 8 p.m., Father Balaguer and Father Visa came and talked about religious matters with Rizal. His another visitor was Fiscal Gaspar Castaño of the Royal Audiencia. They enjoyed talking to each other.
At 10 p.m., the draft of the retraction of Archbishop Bernardino Nozaleda arrived. Rizal rejected it because it is too long. Father Balaguer showed him another draft which was prepared by Father P.O.P., the superior of the Jesuit mission in the Philippines. Rizal liked it, but wanted certain changes made. At 10 p.m., Rizal rejected the draft of the retraction from Archbishop Bernardino Nozaleda. So, Father Balaguer showed him another draft, that prepared by Father P.O.P., the superior of the Jesuit mission in the Philippines, and Rizal liked it.
At 11:30 p.m., Rizal wrote and signed the retraction in which he abjured Mansory. It was witnessed by Juan del Fresno, chief of the guard detail, and Eloy More, adjutant of the plaza. After signing the retraction, Rizal confessed to Father Villaclara and arrested. So, he said that on 11:30 p.m., Rizal wrote and signed the retraction and that he abjured Mansory, and being witnessed by Juan del Fresno, which is the chief of the guard detail, and Eloy More, the adjutant of the plaza. So, as soon as he finished signing the retraction, he then confessed to Father Villaclara and rested.
The next morning, December 30, 1896, Rizal rose up at 1:30 a.m., prayed and confessed again. He kneeled before the altar, praying with a rosary in hand and wearing the blue scapular of the Immaculate Virgin. He read the Acts of Faith, Hope, and Charity from the Spanish prayer book entitled Aceptación de la Muerte, and signed the page 49 at the end of the Act of Charity. Then, he confessed to Father Villaclara for the third time, after which he read Tomas A. Kempis' Imitación de Cristo. At 3:30 a.m., Father Balaguer said Mass. Rizal again confessed. This was the fourth time he confessed. He received communion and heard Mass on bended knees. At the next morning, he kneeled before that altar, prayed and confessed again. He is praying with a rosary in his hand and wearing blue scapular of the Immaculate Virgin. Then he read the book entitled Aceptación de la Muerte. He signed the 49th page of the end of the Act of Charity. And for the third time, he confessed to Father Villaclara after he read the Tomas A. Kempis' Imitación de Cristo. And then, he confessed to Father Balaguer for fourth time.
At 5 a.m., Rizal had his last breakfast. After the breakfast, he autographed some religious pictures and books which were his last souvenirs to his mother, his sister, Josefa, and his sister Trinidad. Soon, Josephine, accompanied by Narcisa, arrived to be married canonically as requested by Rizal. Father Balaguer married them. Rizal gave his wife as wedding gift the religious book Imitación de Cristo, which he autographed. In the book, it is written that, "To my dear and unhappy wife, Josephine, December 30th, 1896, by Jose Rizal." So, at 5 a.m., he had his last breakfast, and after that, he autographed some religious pictures and books that served as his last souvenirs to his mother, his sister Josefa, and his sister Trinidad. Josephine then accompanied by Narcisa and canonically married as Rizal requested it. Father Balaguer let them become one and married. Rizal gave the book Imitación de Cristo as a gift to his wife with the autograph, "To my dear and unhappy wife, Josephine, December 30th, 1896, Jose Rizal."
By 6 a.m., Rizal was ready to have his rendezvous with death at Bagumbayan field. At 7 a.m., he had to die by order of Governor Polavieja. So, Rizal is ready for his rendezvous with death at Bagumbayan field. And at 7 a.m., as the order of the Governor Polavieja, he had to die. Last letter of Rizal. The last letter written by Rizal was addressed to his father and mother. He wrote it at 6 a.m., December 30, 1896. It is as follows.
My beloved Father, pardon me for the pain with which I repay you for your sorrows and sacrifices for my education. I did not want this, nor did prefer it. Goodbye, Father, goodbye. To my very dear mother, Señora Teodora Alonso, 6 o'clock in the morning, December 30, 1896.
Aside from this very last letter, Rizal had previously written two others, both dated December 29, 1896. One was addressed to Blumentritt, his best friend, the other to Paciano, his beloved brother. His last letter to Blumentritt, the best friend he ever had, written in German, reads as follows.
My dear brother, when you receive this letter, I shall be dead. Tomorrow at 7, I shall be shot, but I am not innocent of the crime of rebellion. I am going to die with a clear conscience. Goodbye, my best, my dearest friend, and never think ill of me. Fort Santiago, December 29, 1896.
P.S. Regards to the entire family. To Siora Rosa, Laling, Conradito, and Federico. Written along the interior margin are these words. I am leaving you a book as a last remembrance of mine. Rizal's last letter to Paciano, in Spanish, is as follows.
My dear brother, it has been 4 years and a half that we have not seen each other, nor we have communicated with each other. I do not think it is due to lack of affection on my part, nor on yours, but because, knowing each other so well, we do not need to talk to understand each other. Now I am about to die, and it is to you that I dedicate my last lines, to tell you how sad I am not to leave you alone in life, burdened with the weight of the family and our old parents. I am thinking now how hard you have worked to give me a career. I believe I have tried not to waste my time. Brother of mine, if the fruit has been bitter, it is not my fault, but the fault of circumstances. I know that you have suffered much on my account, and I am sorry. I assure you, brother, that I die innocent of this crime of rebellion. If my former writings have contributed, I do not deny it absolutely, but then I thought I had expiated for the past with my deportation. Tell our father that I remember him, and how I remember my whole childhood, of his affection and his love. Ask him to forgive me for the pain that I have unwillingly caused him. Very brother, Jose Rizal.
The retraction. We have stated before that Rizal wrote and signed a retraction at 11:30 p.m. December 29th, 1896. Its full text is as follows.
I declare that I am a Catholic, and in this religion, in which I was born and educated, I wish to live and die. I retract with all my heart anything in my words, writings, publications, and conduct that has been contrary to my character as a child of the Church. I believe and profess what it teaches. I submit to what it demands. I abominate Masonry as an enemy of the Church and as a society prohibited by it. The diocesan prelate, as the superior ecclesiastical authority, may take this manifestation public. I declare this spontaneously in order to repair any scandal which my acts may have caused, and so that God and man may pardon me.
It must be understood that what Rizal retracted were his errors in religion and attacks against the Church, not his political convictions. The Church, in truth, is concerned only with the spiritual welfare of a man.
Every Catholic is free to choose his political philosophy. He may be a monarchist, a democratic, a nationalist, an internationalist, a liberal, or conservative. Rizal's retraction does not affect his character as a hero, neither does it nullify his views on political freedom and social welfare as expressed in his writings, especially the Noli and the Fili. Catholicism and patriotism go hand in hand together.
By retracting his religious errors and turning to the fold of Catholicism, Rizal emerged a greater man. It takes genuine moral courage for any man to recognize his mistakes and to right the wrong he has done. Like him, other great Filipinos, including Antonio Luna, Juan Luna, Isabella de los Reyes, and Manuel Alcazar retracted. It is indeed strange, but true, that some Masons in their days of health and power are wont to be bitter in their attacks against the church, but when death comes, they abjure Mansory in order to die as Catholics. On the other hand, no Catholic has ever abjured Catholicism in his dying moment in order to die a Mason.
Death March to Bagumbayan. About 6:30 a.m., December 30, 1896, the Death March was about to begin. At Fort Santiago, a trumpet sounded. The advance guard of 4 soldiers with drawn bayonets moved. A few meters behind, Rizal walked calmly with his defender Lieutenant Taviel de Andrade on one side and 2 priests March and Villa Clara on the other. More guards marched behind him. Rizal was dressed elegantly in black with black suit, black necktie, black hat, black shoes, and white vest. His arms were tied behind from elbow to elbow, but the rope was quite loose to give his arms freedom of movement. From his right arm dangled a small black rosary. The muffled sounds of the drums, the cavalcade somnolently marched slowly. There were a handful of spectators lining the street from Fort Santiago to the Plaza del Palacio in front of the Manila Cathedral.
Everybody seemed to be out at Bagumbayan, where a vast crowd was gathered to see how a martyr dies. Passing the plaza, Rizal recognized a young lawyer friend, Eduardo Gutierrez Repide, whom he first met in Dapitan. He bowed his head lightly in recognition as the latter tipped his hat.
Going through the narrow Postigo gate, one of the gates of the city wall, the cavalcade reached the Malecon, which was deserted. Rizal looked at the sky and said to one of the priests, "How beautiful it is today, Father! What morning could be more serene? How clear are Corregidor and the mountains of Cavite! On mornings like this, I used to take a walk with my sweetheart."
While passing in front of Ateneo, he saw the college tower above the walls. He asked, "Is that the Ateneo, Father?" "Yes," replied the priest. "I spent 7 years there." They reached Bagumbayan Field. The spectators crowded a huge square formed by soldiers. The cavalcade entered this square. Rizal walked silently to the place where he was told to stand. It was a grassy lawn by the shore of Manila Bay, between 2 lamp posts.
Rizal bade goodbye to the priest and his defender by shaking their hands. Although restricted by the rope at his elbows, he firmly clasped their hands in parting. One of the priests blessed him and offered him a crucifix to kiss. Rizal bowed his head and reverently kissed it. Turning to the Spanish captain, he requested to be shot facing the firing squad. His request was denied, for the captain had explicit orders to have him shot in the back.
Rizal then turned his back to the firing squad, facing the sea. A military physician, Dr. Felipe Ruiz Castillo, asked him to feel his pulse, which request was granted. The Spanish doctor was amazed to find it normal, showing that Rizal was not afraid to die. The death rattles of the drums filled the air. Above the drum beats, the sharp command "Fire" was heard in the guns of the firing squad bark. Rizal was supreme effort. veered his bullet-riddled body to the right, and fell dead on the ground with face upward to the rising sun. It was exactly 7:30 a.m. He died as he described in his farewell poem.
The Spanish spectators shouted over their dead victim, "Viva España!" which means "Long live Spain." The military band played gaily the March of Cadiz. Everywhere the Spaniards exulted with sadistic glee while the Filipinos were sad. But soon, as events proved, Spain would collapse, a fitting retribution of God for her colossal blunder in executing the greatest Filipino hero. Rizal died on that December morning, a traitor to Spain, but he lives evermore, a martyr to Filipino freedom. A martyr's last farewell. Before he died, Rizal was able to bequeath his last thoughts to his people in a beautiful poem. This poem, which he left untitled, was applied given the title of Ultimo Adios, which means last farewell by the Rizals. It was written on December 29, 1896, the eve of his execution in his prison cell at Fort Santiago. A most touching poem with exquisite finesse and sublime feeling, it is a worthy swan song of a great soul. It runs as follows.
The last farewell. Farewell, dear fatherland, clime of the sun-caressed pearl of the Orient seas, our Eden lost. Gladly now go to give thee this faded life's best. And were it brighter, fresher, or more blessed, still would I give it thee or count the cost. On the field of battle, mid the frenzy of light, others have given their lives without doubt or heed. The place matters not, cypress or laurel or lily white, scaffold or open plain, combat or martyrdom's plight. Ti's ever the same to serve our home and country's need. I die just when I see the dawn break through the gloom of night to herald the day. And if color is lacking, my blood thou shalt take, poured out at need for thy dear sake, to die toithets crimson the waking ray. My dreams, when life first opened to me, my dreams, when the hopes of youth beat high, were to see a loved face. O gem of the Orient Sea, from gloom and grief, from care and sorrow free. No blush on thy brow, no tear dot in thine eye. Dream of my life, my living and burning desire. All hell cries the soul that is now to take flight. All hall and sweet it is for thee to expire, to die for thy sake, that thou might aspire and sleep in thy bosom eternity's long night. 11 over my great someday thou seest grow in the grassy sod a humble flower. Draw it to thy lips and kiss my soul so, while I may feel on my brow dot in the cold tomb below the touch of thy tenderness, thy breath's warm power. Let the moonbeam over me soft and airing, let the datin odd over me its radiant flashes. Let the wind with the sad lament over me keen, and if on my cross a bird should not be seen, let trill their ida hymn of peace to my ashes. Let the sun draw the vapors up to the sky, and heavenward in purity bear my tardy protest. Let some kind soul o'er my untimely jade sigh, and in the still evening a prayer be lifted on high from thee, O my country, that in God I may rest. Pray for all those that hapless have died, for all who have suffered the unmeasured pain, for our mothers that bitterly their woes have cried, for widows and orphans, for captives by torture tried, and then for thyself that redemption thou mightest gain. And when the dark night wraps the graveyard around, with only the dead in their vigil to see, break not my repose or the mystery profound, and perchance thou mightest hear a sad hymn resound. This I, O my country, raising a song to thee, when even my grave is remembered no more, unmarked by never a cross or a stone. Let the plow sweep through it, the spade turn it o'er, that my ashes may carpet thy earthy floor. Before into nothingness at last they are blown, then will oblivion bring to me no care. As over thy vales and plains I sweep, throbbing and cleansed in thy space and air, with color and light, with song and lament I fare, ever repeating the faith that I keep. My fatherland adored that, sadness to my sorrow. Linda, beloved Filipinas, here, now my last goodbye, I give thee all, parents and kindred and friends, for I go there no slave before the oppressor bends, where faith can never kill, and God reigns ear on high. Farewell to you all, from my soul torn away, friends of my childhood in the home dispossessed. Go thanks that I rest, from farewell to you all, from my soul torn away, friends of my childhood in the home dispossessed. Wearisome day, farewell to thee too, sweet friend that lightened my way. Beloved creatures all, farewell, in death there is rest. For further understanding, please watch this video.
Professor Fernando Blumentritt. My dear brother, when you receive this letter, I shall be dead by then. Tomorrow at 7, I shall be shot, but I am innocent of the crime of rebellion. I am going to die with a tranquil conscience. Adieu my best, my dearest friend, and never think ill of me. Jose Rizal. My dear brother, it is now 4.5 years since we have seen one another, or have we exchanged letters. This I think is not because of any lack of love on my part or yours, but because, knowing one another so well, we do not need to talk in order to be understood by one another. Now I am about to die, and it is to you that I dedicate my last lines, to tell you how sorry I am to leave you alone in this life, burdened with the weight of the family and of our old parents. I am thinking how hard you have worked to give me a career. I have tried not to waste my time. My brother, if the fruit has been bitter, it is not my fault, but the fault of circumstances. I know that you have suffered much for me, and I am sorry. I assure you, brother, that I die innocent of this crime of rebellion. That my former writings may have contributed toward it, I cannot wholly deny, but then, I thought I had expiated for the past in my deportation. Tell our father that I remember him, and how much. I remember his affection and his love since my earliest childhood. Ask him to forgive me for the pain I have unwillingly caused him. Your brother, Jose Rizal.
If you have questions or clarification, just indicate .it on our GEC 109 group chat. Thanks for watching.